It's 6 p.m., so I'll welcome everybody to the first meeting of the Delaware Sister City Advisory Board for 2016. We have some guests this evening, and I'll introduce them under item 5. We'll do that there. So, Elaine, would you like to call the roll, please?
Mr. Bartha? Mr. Kopp?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Sally Grinder? Ms. Teets? Here. Councilman Jones? Mayor Riggle? Here. And Chairman Giebert?
Here. I have gotten an excuse from Mr. Bartha and from Rita Selgrider, so we know they're not coming. And I believe
Jones also.
Mr. Jones also excused, and we have one vacancy from the Delaware Chamber of Commerce. So everybody's here that will be here.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to do a motion?
To excuse us?
yes.
A motion to excuse Mr. Jones, Mrs. Sully Grinder, Mr.
Bartha.
Bartha, thank you.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Will Kopp.
Mr. Kopp?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes.
Chairman Giebert?
Yes. All right. So that's so we have a quorum tonight. It's good. Good. The next item on the agenda is the election of a chairman. I've been serving in that capacity for the last couple of years, and actually it's been more fun than I thought it would be. So I'm willing to continue if that's...
I make a motion that you continue as our chairperson.
Is there a second to that?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Kopp?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes.
Chairman Giebert?
Yes. All right, so moving on to an election of vice chairman. Is there anyone on the board that would like to serve in this capacity?
I can do that.
I'm just going to nominate you, so good job.
Okay.
You were Bartha. He's not here.
I talked with Rand about this.
Okay, good.
So do we have a motion
I make a
to,
motion for Mr. Kopp for vice chairman.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Kopp?
I guess so.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes.
Chairman Giebert?
Yes. All right, so we have a chairman and a vice chairman now. And you've all seen the minutes from our last meeting in October. Do we have any changes to that? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Riggle. Do we have a second to approve the minutes?
I second.
Alejandra, thank you. Do we have a roll call?
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kopp?
Yes.
Chairman Giebert?
Yes. All right, so moving on, we have some guests this evening, which I'm very happy to introduce. I'll first start with people from Delaware here. Siri Fisher is here. She's our Rotary Exchange student from Germany, and we'll come on to maybe some things for Siri when we get to Baumholder later in the agenda. And so Siri's here for a year at Hayes High School, and been very happy to have her. And Patricio is here. Patricio grew up in the Arequipa area in Peru and has been in the community for a long time. And we're going to talk a little bit about Arequipa here again, and Patricio's coming to join us for that. So also, we're very privileged that Tim Sword could come here tonight, and Jamie Sisto. And would you like to say a little bit about your responsibilities, Tim, and Jamie also, just briefly?
They can come maybe forward to the table, that way we can be recorded.
I'll just say that Bart Pratzner, who was Tim's predecessor at Columbus Sister Cities, was very helpful in helping us get organized and started as an advisory board. So we've had some good contact with Columbus Sister Cities in the past, and we could well look forward to that in the future. So
Absolutely. So thank you again for the invitation to come up here. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to get to know what you guys are doing up here, and
like you said, see if there's a way that we could connect, for sure. My name is Tim Sword, and I am the president of Greater Columbus Sister Cities. Currently, it's myself and someone that's not quite full-time, so we have a part-time position. Her name's Tiffany Kahn, and we are, quote-unquote, the staff of Sister Cities, and it is a nonprofit charged with running the program, which is the 10 Sister Cities. We actually only run 9 of them officially, but we promote all 10 of them. Dresden, Germany does have a separate nonprofit that's run separately. But we are, or I am working with the board. Jamie's the chair of our board. Currently there's, I think, about 20 board members, mainly made up of community leaders, whether it's businesses, government, education, that are all very interested in seeing this program move forward. So my role is to work with them to kind of create a vision of where we want to go and to implement that.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Jamie, I found out beforehand that Jamie is an Ohio Wesleyan graduate.
We like that.
Yes, yes. Any reason to come back up to Delaware? So, thank you very much, Mayor Riggle and advisory council members. We're pleased to come up and share what we can about our organization and explore opportunities for cooperation. So the Greater Columbus Sister Cities International, Inc., which is quite a mouthful, and Tim's trying to get us to shorten it down and make it more compact, and we're working on that, is a nonprofit 501c3. It's about, corporately, it's probably only about 10 or 15 years old. But from a functional standpoint, Columbus has had sister cities dating back to 1955 and Mayor Jim Rhodes. So we've been around for a while, but we're still experiencing growing pains and trying to figure out what we want to be tomorrow. But we do stand as an independent nonprofit corporation. We were an advisory committee to the city, much like you are now, and then we ended up being a contractual agent to the city. And then just recently, in the last 5 years, we've actually become a contractual agent to the county as well. So we are under contract to both of those entities to provide economic development services and to fulfill our mission of exchanges in education, economic development, the environment, and arts and culture. So we haven't done as well as you have done here in Delaware with soccer exchanges, but we are working on that.
Thank you. Thank you. We are looking forward to working with you in the future. We probably have more to gain from you than vice versa, but I think that's probably part of your mission, is to foster some international activities in the whole region here.
Absolutely. Yes.
So Tim was actually at a Global Scholars Program event, or hoped to be an event today.
Well, I went, but there was no event. They kept telling me that the high schools that were participating today actually came to class. So they just forgot to tell the speaker.
So they know a lot about Global Scholars Diploma Program. So that's something important for us. So thank you.
Just real quickly, for the benefit of Ceres, who's our German exchange student, can you talk a little bit about the Dresden Sister City model and why that's kind of carved out separately from the others?
Sure.
Well, that's a historical footnote as opposed to a current functional item, but
Which would be Jamie's fortune.
yeah. You get these gray hairs, you've been around for a while. So we had all the sister cities in Columbus, all 10 of them, have been approved by and or initiated by the mayor. And so they all have different histories about why they're there.
Okay.
And Dresden was created, or was, we had a very prominent member of the corporate community in Columbus. His name is Frank Bobst, and he was chairman of Huntington Bank. And he had come from Dresden originally, and he encouraged the then mayor to look at that city as a potential for exchange in
Okay.
all the 4 areas that we concentrate in. And he wanted to keep the fundraising and separate. So
Okay.
they formed a
Okay.
little separate LLC. We cooperate very closely, Tim and the executive director of that organization. So to be very honest, it's kind of centered between Huntington Bank and the Porter Wright Law Firm, and those 2 entities really form the nucleus to keep it going. But we cooperate and have worked on exchange. Tim's worked on exchanges that started actually with Dresden, but now have gone further. Like we do exchange of marathon runners with some of our sister cities, which turn into corporate marketing events and turn into fundraising events and turn into people-to-people exchanges. So
Okay. That's helpful. It's good history, good history.
Do anyone else have anything they would like to ask Tim and Jamie about while they're here this evening?
What are some of the biggest benefits, the biggest practical benefits that you've seen over the past few years from Sister Cities programs?
So my perspective really is, it's about the exchange. So it's looking at the opportunity to connect students and businesses and community leaders to that exchange. One of the things that we did last year that's new, and it was Jamie's idea, and at first I was a little hesitant because I was brand new and wasn't quite sure where to go, is we opened it up to develop committees that were volunteers from the community that were focused on the different sister cities. So sister cities on its own, I mean, with 10 different sister cities, that's a lot. And maybe someone's interested, but that's not a way to really engage. The individuals in the community, when they express interest, usually have an interest in one of our cities, either because they're from that country, they've been to that country, there's some interest there. So these committees have created a way for them to participate in organizing and identifying the opportunities for exchange. So Jamie mentioned the pillars that we're looking at is economic development, education, arts and culture, the environmental sustainability, which is something that I'd like to work with our board actually to change a little bit, because I don't know if we have expertise in environmental sustainability right now, but I know we do in leadership, and that could be environmental leadership, but it also could be lots of different types of things. But looking for ways that, connect people and their interests to those communities and build that network. So one of the challenges that we want to address is sister cities start with mayor to mayor. And I recently went to Sevilla, Spain, as the second part of a trip when I went to Italy with our council member to lead young professionals to mark our 60th anniversary. And they had just changed government. So they went from a conservative mayor to, I think, a socialist mayor. Not that that mattered, but what mattered was they were going through a complete budget government overhaul, and we lost that connection because we haven't really done much with them in a while. And it was probably one of those sister cities that was special, not real thought out. Though it's a wonderful city and definitely one that, you mentioned earlier about exchange for students learning Spanish. I mean, it would be a wonderful place to go to learn Spanish, I can tell you that. But we don't have a real strong connection there right now. And that illustrated to me that we can't depend on mayor to mayor only. They started off and set off the vision, but it really has to be the community. So what we want to do is identify universities, media, sports, economic development companies, whatnot, to formulate ties and own that, the database or the connections, and make sure that it doesn't matter. Even our mayors come and go, budgets decrease and grow, whatever. We might not always get the luxury of having the city supporting us. And we want to make sure that we're not depending on that in the future. That's kind of what I'm saying. So really looking at where are those natural ties that already exist. We're lucky because we do have a lot of new Americans that are in our region, and same here, that might have an interest in spearheading some of those relations, but the students and the young people, I think, and we talked about that earlier, really should be the focus. My experience this last year, taking one group of, let's say, experienced professionals that are more than midway through their career or in the midway, to Brazil versus 20-year-olds, not 20-year-olds, but in their 20s and early 30s to Genoa was completely different. And it was when we got home. These young professionals are still working to follow up on the connections that we made, where the other ones, they have full plates of responsibilities and families. And so for them to have time and interest and to really lean into developing those relationships just isn't natural. But for the younger folks, it was just natural. You could see it while we were there, but you know it now because they're doing it. They've done it more than I have, because I haven't had the time to focus like some of them have. And that's important. And we want to nurture that, not stifle that. So somehow we have to learn from that and figure out how to even design programming around that, because that can change their career and definitely their life and hopefully our community.
Are you using more social media to beef up?
We are definitely working on that. So right now you've caught us at an interesting point, and I say bring us back in a year and see where we are. I'm hoping that you'll see a whole different website. We use Facebook quite a bit, but I won't say it's real sophisticated yet. It's just a lot of volume. We want to get to the sophistication part. Instagram, I understand, is really important for the demographic of youth. I've met with 614 editor even as recently as last week, who is kind of coaching me on that part of it. But we're also looking at forming strategic alliances with newspapers, radio. I'm also challenging the board to look at sister cities a little differently. What's our product is what I'm being asked by the board members. And I think it's exchange, and I think it's storytelling. It's the stories. And someone said, no, Tim, that's the byproduct of exchange. And I understand it can be the byproduct of exchange. But if we say it is the product, then that means we're going to be more strategic thinking about how we communicate these experiences, because ultimately that's how we communicate, is through stories. And these are unique stories. And if we just do unthoughtful, not very good storytelling or reporting, it doesn't connect to anyone else in the community except for that one person that might have had that travel experience. So I want to invest and figure out, how do we own that part of it? Like really own that storytelling part.
That's great.
See, we're not sustainable.
Just going back on your original question, economic development, both Tim and I come from economic development backgrounds. So we hired Tim away from the state of Ohio, where he was the expert in agricultural exporting and helped companies in that greater sphere of food, processed food, and agricultural products and exporting. I'm the former state international trade director for Governors Voinovich and Taft, when we had an international trade program, and we had 10 offices around the world that were there specifically to help Ohio companies export and to help attract investment back to Ohio. And from that experience, I saw how when you have a little beachhead in a community or a region, we had an office in Hong Kong, but we weren't really looking for much business out of Hong Kong. We were looking for China, for the greater China area. So we have a sister city in Curitiba, and yes, we are doing all we can to encourage exchanges between Columbus and Curitiba. But when you look at the university's interest and business interest, it may be in the town neighboring Curitiba, it may be in the greater state of Paraná, but all that's going to actually benefit both Curitiba and Columbus. So in our evaluation process, which Mayor Coleman, former Mayor Coleman asked us, that's funny to say after 16 years, but former Mayor Coleman asked us to look at, one of the linchpins that we found with Curitiba was that there was a company from Columbus, a longstanding Columbus company named Borden, that had a plant in Curitiba for 30 years. And they're going to have a plant there for another 30 years. It's in a very, very important location for them. They're now called Hexion, and we still have to understand how to take the greatest advantage of that relationship. But they became very involved and interested in our program because we were looking at Curitiba. And when it was selected, we actually now have a board member from that company. And we're going to continue to see, so mayors will change, our board will change, the people at Ohio State who are involved with our program will change. but what's going to be the continuity that keeps it going? And I think Tim hit on the most important one, and is getting more and more young professionals involved in the program. And then the other is the corporate community has a vested interest in seeing it going long term. I mentioned just briefly before that one of the things what we were able to do is help a company from Dublin, so not Columbus, and they were looking to sell product in China, and their product they sell through the government. So the fact that we had a sister city relationship with Hefei China to them was great, because they could use that relationship. Now they have to make something of that on their own, but we've opened the door to them, to a potential customer and a potential foot in the door. And so what they've done to start off with was to sponsor the Columbus Marathon runners that went to Hefei. Not because necessarily marathon is a part of their corporate culture, but because it gave them an opportunity to develop a stronger relationship with the government and the mayor of that city where they want to sell their fire engines. Anyway. So, I mean, when you say what are the concrete results, I guess we'll have to go back in 10 years and ask somebody at that company, how many fire engines have you sold? But we've been involved in so many different types of exchanges, and like Tim says, storytelling, that you honestly have to take kind of an expansive view of it. If you believe, and you're a globalist, and you believe that we live in a world together, and that, Voinovich used to always say, I'm not going to pick up a gun to a friend. I'm going to pick up, something of friendship. I'm going to do business with them. And if we, raise the tide, all boats on that will rise as well. So, I mean, that was the belief in economic development, was to raise the tide for everybody. So we have not consciously gone out to, in our selection of an African sister city, we wanted a sister city that we could benefit from as well. I mean, we weren't trying to pick a city to say, oh, we're here to help you and we're Columbus, and we were looking for something where there could be mutual exchange. And we think we found one with Accra in Ghana, a very strong city, very strong economy. We have as much to benefit from them as they do from us. So I think that's an important part of what we're looking for, mutual exchange.
And it's kind of funny, too, in a way that there are a lot of people that have not had that opportunity or have taken that first trip. And it's not an economic thing necessarily, it's just they need guided through it for that first experience. And I think by focusing on whether it's middle, high school, or young professionals, college students, this is going to flip the switch on some of them for sure. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, give them perspective and know that the world's different than the street or the city that they're from. And maybe that just brings them back more appreciative and understanding that we need to protect certain things that they take for granted, or improve things that we thought were okay that actually they're doing better somewhere else. And that's just a good thing for a community to have enlightened people like that, and potentially people that then go off and really try to do this for their career. I'm from a small town. Even though I was born in Columbus, moved out when I was young. I happened to be a good runner, finished well at a state meet, a nonprofit in California called International Sports Exchange, who I really don't even know. They just invited good runners around the country to participate. And I got the opportunity to go to China in 1986. I went to Hong Kong, and we called it Canton, but now it's Guangzhou. Wow. And my mom today, I'll tell you, she'll say, you came home and said, you don't know what you're going to do for a living, but it will have something to do with travel. And I just got back from a family trip in Tanzania, and it was my 52nd trip. And what I'm most proud of is that I've taken students, whether they're college students or my own family. My mom to Argentina for the first time in her life, she was 60. Even though she's the reason I traveled early, because she supported it, she herself never took that leap, because who knows why. But within a year, she had gone to New York City again for the first time, and then Ireland with my dad. It was like, you just have to give people the opportunity. So some of the exchanges we did, it's not that we paid for it, it's just we created the opportunity through our relationships with sister cities, and they were just so welcoming. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very helpful.
Any other questions for them?
I have their cards, their emails. Trust me, I'll get a hold of you guys.
And Jamie and I think, are of the mindset, and the whole board probably, that we don't look at this as a territorial thing. Like,
No.
we've represented Ohio, like you said, in the United States. I mean, so if our relationships benefit anyone in your community, we don't want you to think, oh, I wish we had one in Brazil and Curitiba. You do. I mean, as far as we're concerned, we can connect. We'll just keep track of how much you owe us.
I think it resonates with us, the idea of giving people an opportunity,
Right. And we heard that from you, for sure.
giving people an opportunity. Well, thank you very much. I hope you'll stay for the rest of our meeting here, and we'll look forward to working with you in the future.
I think you have to leave though, right?
You know, I'm gonna, just in a few minutes, so I
Okay,
apologize
that's
in
great.
advance, I'll just slip out, but thank you for the invitation. And, would love to continue to collaborate and find ways to work with them.
Great.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
And some of the old guys that go on the trip have fun too. I mean, come on.
Yeah, fun. They're doing it when they get home.
You're not posting anything on Instagram when you come back. Or Snapchatting when you're there.
Okay, well, thank you. That was very interesting. And so we'll move on. Tom, you want to give us a report on the Cicada delegation?
Well, I think
visit?
both Mayor Briggle and I can, and personally
Yeah,
say,
yeah, by
I
all
think it
means.
was a real success. And my hats off to my assistant, Michelle Kohler, and Assistant City Manager Jackie Walker, who were instrumental in getting everything scheduled and organized. And without them being part of that, we would not have been able to have the success we had. And I think the delegation that visited us they were,
They're so gracious, so welcoming, so just.
you talk about the connections and the story we just starting to establish a sister city with Sakata, Japan, which has had a relationship with our schools for the last 25 years. They've been sending middle school students to Dempsey Middle School. And in the last couple of years, we extended that relationship and sent a letter from Mayor Riggle to their mayor, and one thing led to another, and they visited us during the fall, and expect a return visit, which we'll be talking about tonight. And that starts it, that starts that relationship. And they were so appreciative, I think, of the hospitality that we showed them, and I'm sure that it'll be reciprocal when we visit. But the question you always come up with after these visits is what's next, and I think that gets to what Tim and what Jamie were talking about. Is it's more than just the exchange and trying to figure out what are those other elements that will make it more lasting, and so. But yeah, the most recent communication from Rika Abe, who was the person on the staff who handles their sister city relationships, is their mayor is very interested in knowing when they would like it to be this year, but I think we talked and agreed that just planning these things, there's a lot that goes into a visit, whether it's a visit that you're going to or a visit that you're hosting. So we thought 17 probably was more realistic because we have the Ironman here, and this Ironman is actually going to be here in Delaware in August, and that's going to take up a lot of our time, and so we thought 17 made sense. So it's really just a discussion, I guess, about who and paying and all of those different things that go into a trip. But we're very anxious to get the wheels in motion, I think, to start thinking about it, because it'll be here before we know it. But so.
Rika and I have been contacting back and forth through Facebook. We talk.
Oh, great.
So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. But they're
No
officially,
Instagram yet, but
Yeah.
I'm too old for that.
they really at some point will want to know when, and that's something that we'll have to talk about, and who, and the numbers and that type of thing. So, but the good news is that we knew this going into it, that they're very receptive and very anxious to build on visit that they had here in the fall.
All right. I think Andy Brush, who was on this committee when he was a member of council and who didn't stand for re-election, so Andy's not on the committee anymore, but Andy did a lot to make that trip, their visit a success. I think he organized the gifts or had the idea for the gifts and so forth.
Yeah, the one gift you did, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, well, thank you for that. I thought that the city did a fantastic job organizing that, really put a huge amount of work into it. They had a nice place to stay. We were able to keep them together.
Yeah.
You really went out of your way to make that a great trip for them.
Well, in Ohio West thing with the dinner that they put
We
on,
had a nice
fabulous.
dinner. Yeah.
Yes, there were
Yeah.
lots of people who contributed, but I think that Michelle your secretary did a great job of putting everything together. So that was a
Did
that
you
was
just
a big
call her a
achievement.
secretary?
I'm sorry. Scratch that.
Scratch that.
Too late.
So, well, shall we move on the agenda to just to talk briefly about returning visit to Secada?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
I have a couple of suggestions to make, and maybe that will lead to some little bit of discussion. I think if you could look into your kind of annual calendar, Tom, this might be useful for you, and see, is there a time in 2017 that would be, that you would like to go? If you, or Mayor Riggle, if we could identify a time of the year that we wanted to go, maybe like during the Cherry Blossom Festival.
I know it's cherry blossom. Don't want to go over the 4th of July. I mean, Rika gave me so many ideas. It's like, how do I pick one? She's saying during the 4th of July, it is so busy. So that may not be the best time.
Yeah, the Cherry Blossom Festival is really great in Japan.
Yeah.
It's a nice time of year. The weather's pretty good. That might be a time just to identify, because I think if you tell people overseas, even if it's far in the future, that this is what we're looking at, that gives them
Yeah.
something
to plan
to
for.
plan for.
Look forward to.
And also, we have to decide who would even go to Japan, who would represent Delaware.
I'm going. I'm a little tall, but I'm going.
So, and it doesn't mean that people can't go there in the meantime. It could be that, like June Watanabe, for instance, is going to Secada. There could be other people from Delaware who could go there for some reason.
She wants to go and we go also.
Right, but that might be a good interim thing, is that there are some people from here who are able to just go there for some other reason, whether it's an academic visit or something like that. We could look for that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I haven't learned more about the cherry blossoms than I ever wanted to know.
Oh,
So if you're gonna go, I'll give you a little
okay.
history on that.
That'd be wonderful.
On the Taft family's relationship with the cherry blossoms.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I've been there during the Cherry Blossom
When is
Festival.
what month is that?
It's in April.
April, I thought.
It's in April.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, the fall, August through the end of the year is just between the fair and
Yeah,
budget.
fair's off and then
Yeah.
budget. We can't. do
Spring,
that.
when we went to Baumholder, it was this April, May, it was April,
It's cold.
March,
Oh,
April.
we've been in October.
Was it the fall?
Yeah, we
When
went
did
in
we-
October.
They visited us. When did they visit?
They visited us
Was
in
it-
the spring. We
Okay.
went there in October.
Yeah.
Well, how would April sound? I mean, we don't have to decide that right now, but it might be good maybe we could decide that at our April meeting. Say next April, we could propose that to the city council that we would make a trip next April of 2017. I think that would help us plan if we have a date or a time frame.
When you do Tim, when you do the sister city visits, does the city, how does that finance? Is that financed through the city or is that financed
Did you hear that part?
through a nonprofit?
Yeah.
So you're under contract with the,
That's right.
okay.
And then for participation, they would pay their own way.
They do. Okay.
And then for participants that are at large, I guess, or the target audience, there's a fee. And then we, depending on what trip, we will take care of the airfare or certain things. Each
Okay.
one's a little different.
Okay.
But we work with a travel coordinator, which helps us. price
Yeah.
that.
That would be good to talk to you about.
We do try to reciprocate. So for instance, we recently had the mayor of Accra visit Columbus. And we were able to arrange for hotel space for them at a significant discount and host a dinner for them. But those were event-driven fundraising. We do have, a budget for the year, but that budget is dedicated for the most part to our staff and to maintaining staff and to allowing the staff the opportunity to travel to these sister cities as well. So if I were to go on a trip, I paid my own way to Brazil. The mayor, we helped by finding some corporate sponsors and raising some money. The other members of the delegation all had reasons to be there. I'm thinking of Curitiba, business reasons, and most of them have their companies.
Okay.
They tied it into
Yeah.
business in the greater
Right.
region.
Okay.
So the only thing that we've ever really exchanged would be hosting of some events, dinners, meals, and some hotel. We did do a little airfare for inbound travelers from Ghana to help them attend to come to the city.
Thank you.
Well, I think if we think about going, it would be about $2,000, the transportation to get there and, some ancillary expenses, probably $2,000 per person. So if we sent 5 people, as they sent 5 here, if we sent 5 back, we'd have to come up with $10,000 or people would have to pay their $2,000. That's probably what we're looking at, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that in advance of our April meeting and pick that up again and see if we can maybe put that on the calendar. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, and I mean, Carolyn's in touch with Rika. She sent me a note last week and just letting me know formally that they welcome us. So I'll let them know that what we're tentatively looking at, so at least they have an idea.
I think even the Christmas card wants to know when we're coming, so.
Yes, right. And we're putting together, just so your information, Rand, we are putting together a formal thank you that's going to go out to all of the entities that assisted us, the university, where they were housed and everything. We were just waiting for the budget to get adopted and for putting together an album, I guess, that will go out to all the people that participated. So.
Okay, that's great. All right.
Thanks.
Jamie.
Thanks, Jim.
Sorry, I have to run.
No, great. Thank you for coming. Well, let's move on to item 8 on our Global Scholars Program. Dan's not here this evening. I had the opportunity to talk to Rick Strench, who's the principal of Hayes High School, and he's following this up now. And they're definitely going to start in the next school year. They've got money. They've got a grant from someone to pay the fees for the Columbus Council on World Affairs. So they're going to start in August, and I think that's what we need. I think that's an important part of what we will do in the future, perhaps, is work with high school students. I think they've got the time, they've got the interest. It's something they can follow up when they go to college. There's lots of things they can do with our Sister City program. I think it's ideal, kind of dovetails very well with what the Global Scholars Diploma is about, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I'm looking to link our organization with them more. We have a formal agreement where I'm helping facilitate some of their sessions. But my long-term goal with that is to create opportunities for their students to go on trips to sister cities, trying to figure out how to do that.
Okay. Would anybody here on this committee like to be involved with this Global Scholars program at Hayes? If that resonates with you, if it's something you'd like to kind of work on next year, I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to work with students in some fashion. And we may also work with people at Ohio Wesleyan, as we discussed before. I think that will be a real nice contact. So.
My plate's a little full. Are either one of you interested?
Well, I'm interested to see what it's about in terms of exactly what you need. I have to admit, don't have kids, not really around kids, high school kids a lot, so I don't know how much I'd be able to relate or offer, but I'm willing to, look into it and help out.
You're probably the youngest member of our community.
Am I? No.
You're younger than us. So
Well, I'm not that young. When it comes to, you joke about this, I'm old in that sense too. I'm not young, that's for sure. I'm at the high end of the millennial group, but definitely willing to, see what I can do to help. Sure.
Okay, yeah, that's something we'll talk about some more during our April and July meetings about working with them.
So if I could just interject real quick, because I've worked with some of them. I don't know how you'll select them at this school or how they'll be selected, but they're not all equal. So some schools are really good at having engaged students that ask questions, that dig in, and others are just waiting. So when you say relationship to kids, I think it's really just being available and giving them an opportunity to talk to someone that is an adult, and talk to them or with them equally. They're not used to that. They're used to being told, this is what you need to do. So I do think there's a huge benefit, particularly at the high school level, to talk to them like, well, what are you thinking about doing, or what do you think? And allowing them to do that. So
just even more on a mentorship level or just relationship level.
Yeah, it would be huge for them. Because there's another thing that I think is really important, and this is the relatability, and I call it teach back. And when I teach college students, I'm an adjunct at Ohio State, I really want them to go back to their own high school if they've gone with me to Denmark or Panama, and share that experience in high school, because they're going to relate and talk about this. They're going to know how to talk to each other. But what happens is they see themselves in that student, because that student was in their hallway, or maybe it's the brother, sister, or whatever, and they're like, well, I want to do that, or I want to know about that. Where a lot of kids, and I can tell you because I've worked with them, go to college, and even though they're good students, they don't know what's out there. And we can't pursue things we don't know. So the earlier we can teach students about what's out there and how to go look for it, the better. So if we wait until they get to college, they're a sophomore before they find out about study abroad, and now it's kind of expensive unless they want to pay another year of tuition, and so they don't. So that's another person that doesn't have that opportunity to be done by a child. That's my soapbox.
Makes sense.
Okay. Well, we'll talk some more about that. And should we move on to involvement with Rotary clubs? Tom and I are in the Rotary Club here in Delaware. And when the Japanese people came to our Rotary meeting, we exchanged some flags with one of their clubs in Sakata. And I would like to follow that up. I would like to talk to Shelia and Dusty in our club and have us contact the club in Sakata. Just say, well,
I think we should.
they were here, and get a letter back from them or some kind of response from the Rotary Club there, because that's something that we could probably work with in the meantime before we go there. We could work with some of these Rotary contacts. And also Rotary has this big exchange program. And it's possible, as I understand it, and I'm going to find out some more about this weekend, that maybe through Rotary, one of our high school students could go to Sakata, and somebody from Sakata could come here during the summer. We have a summer exchange program in Rotary, which would take a lot of responsibility off of us or the school. Here's another organization who would provide some contact like that. And that might be another way that we can involve ourselves with Sakata or even Baumholder through Rotary's exchange program. So
No, I think we had talked about that earlier. I think it's right. It's part of what Rotary does, is their international focus and their existing exchange students. I mean, Ceres is here tonight.
Ceres
She's
here, yeah. But that's one of the things that isn't very clear for me about how much control we would have over whether we could actually have somebody from Delaware go to Sakata, because Siri didn't know that she was going to come to Delaware. I mean, until somebody in Germany decided that Siri was going to come to Delaware and not go to, someplace in New Jersey. And even once our district, Siri got assigned to our district here, it was just the district deciding that she was going to go here, come to Delaware rather than Lancaster or Portsmouth or someplace else, Upper Arlington. There could be she could have gone anywhere in the district, but you got to come to us. So I'm not sure to what extent we can manage the control that, where students go. But through the summer program, I think we might be able to do some of that. So I'm going to find out if we can contact the Rotary Club in Sakata. I think that would be just find out what happens if we do that, if we write to them. And
Well, I can ask Rika to give me I could.
yes, we should ask her which Rotary Club, because they gave us a flag, but it would be good to get some maybe
I
some
could ask her maybe
contact
information.
details for that.
I can do that.
Okay.
I've got to
The
get
one from the council, that's the chamber, you might know also.
from here.
From there.
Oh, from their chamber. Yeah,
Right.
right. Okay.
If Rika
Yeah.
doesn't know, he could
Yeah.
find out
Yeah.
for us.
Okay, that'd be
Okay.
great, Tom, if you
Yeah,
can
I'll
get a
follow up
contact
on
for
that.
us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll leave Rotary clubs again, that's something for us to follow up here. Now, if we move on to item 10, our other sister city updates, I can tell you for Omutninsk that Natasha Medvedeva, who's the English teacher at the high school in Omutninsk. So her English is pretty good, and she's quite amusing actually to write. So she sent a greeting to me for Christmas. Sent me an email, kind of wished my family well and all of that. And I think Natasha is waiting for kind of the high school to connect with her, and we're not quite there yet. I think for that. I think that's something, I don't know how Omutninsk will develop, because we haven't had any now. So, but I think there's a lot of potential in the sense that they would like to have an English contact, for their students. I think that's a big thing in Russia. Big thing. So they would like to have contact with us. So that's something I really believe we can build on once we get the Global Scholars Program going.
So it's not something we have to do.
No, but I would think even in talking to the principal of the school, seeing if there's a group there, whether it be their student council meeting, or there's somebody that would have the interest, and just to Skype back and forth with her classroom, start someplace. It's not going to cost me money for us to do that.
Yeah,
If
talk to
they're
Natasha.
waiting, right. Mhm. We've
So,
got to break that ice somewhere along the line and just make that first conversation.
yeah,
between the school and her.
Elena Lubetitz, who came to one of our meetings last year.
Right.
Elena has spoken to Natasha but they could talk in Russian, which was nice. I think that's, I would actually really like to have a woman to work with Natasha. I think that would also be easier than me. If somebody would like to.
That leaves you.
Elena, that's why I've had Elena to done a lot of the contact, had Elena contact her, because I just think that's easier. It's easier for her probably to talk to Elena than to talk to me. Natasha's got little children. She's quite a bit younger than me. So I just think at this stage, it's probably easier if somebody else besides me communicates with her. And I think Elena would be helpful to continue on that. So.
Would you like to do that? Yeah.
No, good, good.
Delegate, that's what this
Two
is all about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, what we can do is I can email Natasha and copy you and Elena, and well, we can talk with Elena beforehand, because I think Elena can help. Elena is really helpful because Elena Lubetitz, who works for Chase Bank in Worthington, she grew up near Lubetitz. Her father's in the military, Russian military. So this is an area familiar to her even. So we will get in touch with Elena. I'll work that out for you and Alejandro. Okay. Good. Okay, let's move on from a minute to Baumholder. With Baumholder, I sent Peter Lang an email. And haven't heard anything from him. But Jay Martin is taking the soccer team to Baumholder the first 2 weeks of August. So they're going there. And as I was discussing with Tom, perhaps we can build a little bit around Jay's trip there. And Siri is going to be back in Germany at that time. And Siri is, amongst other things, a great soccer person, right?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite team, Siri? Is he right? But Siri knows a lot about soccer, and she and Jay were having a great discussion about soccer, weren't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
His favorite team is Barrington too.
So I invited Siri to come tonight because I hope that maybe while Siri's going to be here till the end of, you're not going back till the end of July, are you?
Oh, yeah.
June. It's the end of June you're going back.
I'm going back July 1st.
July 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, between now and July 1st, we're going to get Siri organized and spend a little bit of time with Jay while they're in Germany. So, how does that sound?
Good.
Okay.
When is he going to be in Germany again?
The first 2 weeks of August.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I probably got to meet him in Germany, right?
Right.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. We'll work that out. But we can do some other things too, perhaps, to see what we can do with Baumholder this year in conjunction with Jay's trip. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they have a museum that they're,
It's going to open this year?
I think it's gonna, I'm not sure if it was supposed to open this year.
It was supposed to open last year, and I think
Yeah.
it's moved to this year.
I mean, if anything, we could probably find out if that's gonna happen and at least send over some official congratulations. That was a big part of,
I'll find out from Gabby,
that'd be great.
see where they're at on that museum.
But between now, so we've got a meeting in April, we've got one in July. We've got some time to plan some things with Baumholder that Jay's going to do. So we can look into that.
They're building a museum there to show how Baumholder changed and Americanized themselves once the base was built there and all the Americans started going there before they went off to fight. So that's when they added the Pizza Huts, the McDonald's, and just everything has changed there. So the museum will take you through time as it changed. So I mean, there's a Jeep that's going to go through one of the walls. We saw the
Yeah.
prototype. It's just going to be phenomenal.
The Jeep that was built in Toledo,
Yes.
the Willys Jeep plant. Yeah.
I need to get over there and see that.
Baumholder is southwest of Frankfurt. So that's where it is. It's kind of near the French border, actually, not too far from France. So, and Yeah, so we have that coming up with Baumholder. And the next thing is Arequipa. We, just for background, we wrote to Arequipa, Mayor Riggle sent them a letter at the same time that we wrote to Sakata. We eventually got a response from Sakata, but so far we haven't gotten a response from the city administration in Arequipa. But I don't think we should be, I think we should consider not be too worried about that. But more the question is how to follow up with Arequipa. And I think that I've talked to a number of people here in town who think this is a good place to follow up with. And Alejandra is from Peru here. And I asked Alejandra if she would just tell us a little bit about her background in Peru. And I think that might be helpful for us. So Alejandra, tell us.
I also talked to my father this week and he was telling me other things too. Well, good evening, everyone. I was asking to tell you a little story about my family connection to Arequipa. My grandfather born in Arequipa and he lived his entire life there. One of his business trips to Bolivia, he met my grandmother. They married and they moved to Arequipa. They lived there and they had one son who was my father, who is my father, yeah, sorry. And years later, my grandfather died and my grandmother decided to move to the capital city, Lima. My father, who spent his childhood there, he always remembered and tell us little stories about Arequipa. And I remember, well, he also said this week that he asked my mother many times to move there to Arequipa, but because my mother has most of his family in Lima, my mother said no. But just to happy him, my mother decided to learn all the dishes and start cooking Arequipas food. So my father, every time actually we sit down in dinners and eat the food, he tell every time about Arequipa. So me and my sister, we grew up listening there. Unfortunately, I've never been there, but I would like to go someday. Now, thank Patricia for being here. I know that you know more Arequipa, you've been there. Well, I'm gonna tell you something about Arequipa. Arequipa is located at an altitude of 7,688 feet above the sea level. It's a beautiful city, it mostly built out of sillar. It's a kind of white volcanic stone. This is why Arequipa is called the White City. With its 861,000 people, Arequipa is the second biggest city in Peru. Now, this week I was telling my father was here in Delaware a couple years ago, and he mentions that Arequipa looks a little bit like Delaware. And I say, why do you get the impression that it looks like a little bit Delaware? Just the buildings. And I say, how? And then he mentions because it's the stone. In Arequipa, they have the white stone, the volcano, and here is the blue stone. And I was like, yes, that's a nice thing. You know, he got idea, and that was nice and neat. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that I would like to suggest is that we take another year just to look at how we might interact with people in the Arequipa area. And Patricio has offered to help us, continue to help us do that. And Tim, I think maybe you could also talk to us a little bit about that, how we're thinking about this and what might be practical for us, because in a sense, Arequipa is a much bigger city than Delaware. And, but it might not, it's probably good in this, Arequipa has a number of sister cities in other countries, but they only have one in America. They're a sister city with Charlotte, North Carolina. So I think that if we are able to involve ourselves, which I think is what we want with some of the, just some activities, some real activities in Arequipa, that might be a good start. Because that's kind of how our sister cities started with Sakata. It didn't start with a letter to the mayor, it started with a school exchange. So maybe that's more a pattern of what we can look for. And between Patricio and Alejandra and some of the other people in the community who are going to Peru, perhaps we can find out how to do that during this year. That's what I would like to explore personally. Does anybody have any comments about that?
Or I could just go talk to the mayor there.
It's probably worth saying that.
I'm just kidding.
It's probably worth saying that because of the commodity, the kind of downtrend in commodity prices, this is probably putting a lot of pressure on Peru right now, and they may be distracted in some ways by that in the city administration. Could be. So but that doesn't mean that we can't explore some things in Arequipa. So.
Yeah, they should probably. If
Come
you,
to the microphone.
Yeah, could you come to the
So-
microphone
because
so we
we're
can hear?
live streaming this and it's easier to pick up.
Thank you, Patricio.
I would like to start just with an example. I don't know if you've ever been at a store and you have seen an item that you wanted to buy it, and for some reason you decided to perhaps come back later, and then when you came back later, the price was 3 times higher, or the item no longer was on the shelves, and you regretted not to buy this item, and you never found it again. I give that example because I think there was a lot of momentum between the conversation that we initiated with the city of Delaware and the city of Arequipa. But there was, I think, here on our end, we waited too long perhaps to have a more positive response accepting their invitations. At that point, I guess some of the things I would speculate that cooled down, and then after that they have city elections and other activities came, and now we are entering the process of new presidential elections. So that has kind of cooled down for a bit, and that confirms what you were saying, that you were dealing with someone in Italy and there were government changes and you could not connect because you missed that momentum of making the connection, especially perhaps in our culture here. We like to study how is that very structured, and sometimes we have to understand that in order to develop a relationship, you have to even go there and then shake the hand, and from that point everything will grow. Now, in talking about if we should or not continue to connecting, and I've been reflecting about this the last few days, I think we should pursue one more time to see if the city want to continue with this or not. I have some contact that is going to talk directly with the city manager I told him, ask him yes or no.
Okay. That would be good to know.
If it's a no, I think we openly can approach a different way rather than going through because if they haven't say yes or not and we go perhaps a different route, we may create some sort of a conflict that we don't want. So if the city is at this point is not interested, I think there is a lot of other venues that we can reach out and connect and develop the relationship. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think that makes sense.
So you're suggesting, Patricio, that you could explore this with them?
Yes.
That you could do this,
yes.
Make this contact?
Yeah.
And if they say, we'd like to pursue it, then...
Yes. And then we like to pursue it, and I think we should, even though that I don't think right now perhaps the committee has a clear idea of what exactly we want to do with the city of Arequipa, and that's fine, because I think if they say yes, we can jump and perhaps send a delegation to establish that first relationship. And then once there, I think will be a greater opportunity for us to see exactly what is it that we want to accomplish. And during the time that we will be there, or you will be there, explore with the representatives from the colleges, from high schools, and other organizations to explore, okay, with you, how can we, what is it here that we can do together? And I think they will be absolutely open to explore those possibilities.
Okay, I think again, a little bit like with Omutnansk, once this Global Scholars Diploma program starts, the students have to do an international project, and I bet a lot of them would like to do something in Peru. They would jump on that, I think. But it's more of how to handle that in a way, you know, and we have contacts in Arequipa that we could work with.
Well, I think initially, if it based on what kind of feedback Patricio gets, if he gets the feedback that yes, we'd like to pursue it, maybe by the next meeting we'll know that.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about, well, what shape does that take?
I did meet with a gentleman who was in charge of the international affairs for the city of Arequipa. And I met with another guy in a meeting at the city hall of Arequipa. And the guy that I was dealing with has been moved into a completely different position to take care of different responsibilities. And the part of the international affairs for the city of Arequipa was given to another guy. And I think that's also where the disconnect happened. And they both, in this meeting, and this was at the beginning of July, the end of June of this past year, they both expressed that they continue to be interested and that they were going to respond to your letter. But I think there has been other activities, particularly in meeting with all the cities around the world that have the nomination from the United Nations that are Heritage World Cities, and this happened in November. And perhaps also that has derailed from just focusing on this agreement.
So I have a question. So is it common? I learned from the Japanese that were here, every 2 years, Rika has a new job within the city hall. And that just floors me that you just constantly keep changing jobs. Is it common? I mean, is this what's happened in Arequipa? I mean, because he changed jobs, is this common overseas?
Yeah, that was he was given a new responsibility, and then somebody else has to take his.
I mean, here you can sit in the same job for 25 years, 30 years, it's no big deal. But I was just surprised to hear that's how they do it in Japan. Every 2 years you get a new job.
Not necessarily every 1 or 2 years, it depends on circumstances also.
That's what Rika said, right? Every 2 years? Every 2 years. It's an interesting way to do things. So I was just curious since that came up.
Well, as a board, are we in favor of having Patricio to contact them? Okay, Patricio, we're giving Patricio
I think we should pursue
the
it.
job to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Patricio.
We should pursue it whether with until the city gives a positive or negative answer, and that will give us what to do next. And if the city does not respond, I think we should pursue it from a different perspective.
Okay.
If I suggest, since you are interested in city specific and not getting the response yet that you want, you might want to reach out to the embassy or the consulate that covers Ohio for Peru, and just let them know that you're interested in order to take degree of assistance to let.
Culturally, I would not do that. I would not, because you are undermining the power.
Necessarily, if you just say that you express interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these things that there are different ways to go about them. So
I apologize. I have to go see the guys.
okay, we're really done. Is April the 12th? That's our next meeting. That's the next thing on the agenda. Okay, Carolyn, thanks.
Bye.
All right, Patricia, well, we'll work on that. And
Thank you.
Alejandro, thank you for your
You're welcome. Thank you.
background on Peru. So, okay, that's that. The last item on the agenda is the date of our next meeting. We've been meeting on the second Tuesday of each quarter, so that would be April the 12th. It's after Easter. It's not the Tuesday after Easter. So, is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Good. Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Aaron. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we need to vote to adjourn? Okay, well, we're adjourned then. Thank you very much.
So I couldn't get on the camera.
Okay.